Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakarkadash. Double honors to the elders for preaching this word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely as well too. And I'll say shalom to you Akim out there. And this is a video that I'm about to play. And the title of this lesson, of this reading of this news article from NTD.com. This is by Tiffany Manner, if I pronounce her name right, as of April 12th, 2023. And this is from China in Focus from NTD.com. And it reads, Brazil to cut the U.S. dollar and China trade, and Andros Corr mentioned. And I'm about to bring up the Revelations chapter 13 and verse 16. And as you see, as of lately, you've been seeing these countries are definitely turning away from the American dollar, as we starting to see the American dollar on a decline, as not being a top global currency reserve, as the nations are turning away from the American dollar, as the American dollar is on a decline on an everyday basis. We're going to continue to see it be on the decline as well too, as we entering more closer to the central digital bank currency. And this is going to be a new form of currency very soon. So that just shows a prime example of these countries are turning away from the American dollar. Now that we see this being occurred, now that the American dollar is not going to be a top global currency anymore, as the nations come with their own form of currency, as they team up together to turning away from the American dollar, as we're getting closer and closer entering a new form of currency, as the paper dollar of the American dollar soon to come is going to be a thing of the past, as we're getting closer and closer to a new form of currency. Just like I mentioned before, the central digital bank currency. And this is going to be a new form of currency very soon, as we starting to see it progress. And this is the book of Revelations, chapter 13, verse 16, and it reads through the Holy Scriptures. He calls it all, both small and great, rich or poor, free or bond, to receive a MARK, which is the Charagma, which is the new form of currency that CHIP as well too. In order to buy or sell, and this is the times that we're about to come into of the this new form of currency, and that MARK is that Charagma, that CHIP. And I'm going to read it again. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. He calls it all, both small and great, rich or poor, free or bond, to receive the MARK, which is the Charagma, in their RIGHTHAND, or in their FOREHADS, right? If you're upper class, middle class, lower class, to receive that MARK in the upper part of your body, in the right part of your body, because this is going to be a new form of currency. Definitely with this technology going to be stored in you very soon. In order to buy or sell, you definitely got to comply to that CHIP, which is going to be a new form of currency of this technology soon to come. But in the meantime, we're definitely seeing the American dollar on the decline, as the nations are turning away from the American dollar, as the nations that once was allies with America, now they are turning away from them, and they are cutting economic ties away from them and not depending on the American dollar anymore, And I'm going to go to the next verse. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 17, and it reads through the Holy Scriptures. And that no man might buy or sell, say he had the MARK, which is the Charagma, or the name of the BEAST, or the number of his name. This is Revelations chapter 13, verse 18. And after I read this last verse, I'm gonna bring out the video clip of the latest news article of China and Brazil are, I believe, about to make an agreement with one another on the economic sense, as Brazil cuts trade with the United States. And this is the last the last verse of Revelations, the 13th chapter, and it reads, "Here is wisdom, let him have understanding. Count the number of the BEAST, for it is the number of a man, which is, and his number is SIX, 100, threescore SIX. You know those triple digit letters of the number SIX. And this is what we're entering into, the fully revealing, soon to come, of the MARK of the BEAST, the MOT to the B, a new form of currency, as we see the American paper dollar on the decline. Now I'm finna get to the video clip.
Welcome back to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Brazil's president arrived in China Wednesday. Relations between the two countries are heavily rooted in business and trade. And recently, they made the decision to ditch the U.S. dollar and trade in their own currencies. We spoke to Anders Corr, publisher of the Journal of Political Risk, for more on what this could mean.
Well, I think that it is more difficult to sanction a country that is not using the US dollar. So that's exactly why China and Russia have been trying very hard not to use the US dollar. Iran has done the same thing, Syria, North Korea. Basically all of these very malign powers that totally ignore human rights and don't want to be sanctioned for that are taking premeditated action, which shows that they have intention to commit future crimes, basically, to commit future international crimes. And that's another reason why we need to crack down on all of these countries. And I think we need to really start saying to countries like Brazil that would participate in that premeditated violation of international law, we have to tell countries like Brazil that if they do that, they're going to face consequences. They may have their trade privileges in the United States and Europe removed. They may have their, most favored nation status removed. Foreign aid could be decreased to their country based on these issues. And we need to make that clear across the board. We need to ask countries to take sides. We really haven't done that. Our diplomats very frequently will say, we're not asking you to take a side if they're talking to a country. We just want you to do the right thing, right? And but actually, we do need to start asking countries to take sides. And those countries that don't take the side of democracy and human rights, there ought to be consequences to that, and they ought to be economic and trade consequences.
But on that note, it seems often when outside people look at the U.S., a lot of major companies are doing business in China and ignoring the human rights aspect. So how would that play into that?
Well, Thermo Fisher is a prime example. They're selling DNA test kits to China, and in particular to Tibetan police. And the Tibetan police are using they're using DNA kits along with the rest of the security services in Tibet to forcefully take DNA from people or take it from children without their consent. And then, according to some experts that spoke at Congress, they are using those DNA tests to match people for organ donation and forced organ harvesting, which is shocking and reprehensible to the highest degree. and that a U.S. company could be participating in that by supplying any DNA kits to China when forced organ harvesting is ongoing is a tragedy and a travesty, and Congress should really pass a law against it.
And what would that law look like to actually make companies not do that, not basically focus on profits?
Well, there could be a law, a very simple law that says that any country that is engaged in forced organ harvesting we would not be, our U.S. corporations would not be allowed to provide the equipment that might be used for that forced organ harvesting. And it wouldn't only be equipment to Tibet, it would be equipment to all of China, and including Hong Kong and Macau, because things that are export controlled to China often get imported via Hong Kong and sent over to whoever really needs it in mainland China. So we have to stop these, economic sanctions and export controls on a particular company in China and broaden it out to all of China, including Hong Kong and Macau.